Let's get it. I just float with it. Fuck what you did, I'm at your throat with it. You can learn something, take a note with it. Dedicated my life, I took an oath with it. For the blood of my brothers, we don't do no switching. I run with who I run with, ain't no clicking. Try me, do you done with no decision. Lead a scene like a Mack truck with 4 collisions. Poles everywhere, but they ain't gon' vote dissing. Coming at you live and direct, I don't do no dissing.
Hey, Shalom Israel, Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakatham. To all the brothers, Yahweh Shema Alatan Shem Yahshua. To all the sisters, welcome back to Real Time Revelations, the show where I break down, recent topics, relevant topics, recent news going on in the media, and I give you the biblical perspective on what's going on in your real life. All right, welcome. This is episode 5. Tonight's topic is on single parenthood. All right, tonight's topic is why single parenthood is failing our children. Now, you'll see a lot in the media how single parenthood, especially single motherhood, is propped up as something great. It's glorified. But I'm here to kind of give you the understanding that single motherhood or single fatherhood, single parenthood in general is nothing really to be glorified. Now, if you're in that circumstance, it's unfortunate. You can do the best you can, but it's certainly not something to be glorified. Single parenthood, unless it's from, the unaliving of your other partner, unless they passed away and unfortunately left you as a single parent, anything really aside from that is the result of a failure, right? And I'm here to break down why I say that. And I'm here to break down how you can remedy that, how we as a nation can remedy and fix single parenthood. All right. So without further ado, also shalom to everybody that is in the live. I can see a few people in there. I see Kayala, I see Just in Time, Bang Goody, Dylan, Sally. All right, shalom. Make sure if you ain't following the page, make sure you drop a follow, like the video, share the video. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comments too. You know what I'm saying? And we can get this in. All right. So the first thing I want to share with you is a quick video. All right. So let me get this up real quick. All right, give me 1 second. So, in fact, before I go into the video, I'm gonna go into a scripture. All right. So single parenthood, as it's being pushed in the media, it's being glorified. This is a tool by our oppressor to keep us down as a nation, to keep us separated. All right, I'm gonna show you exactly how and exactly where this came from and how it's still impacting us to this day. All right, so I'm gonna get this scripture right here, right? Okay, Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 48. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually go into the chapter real quick, because we're going to read through a few verses, okay? So I'm going to go from Deuteronomy 28 and verse 48. Okay, it says, "Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, in thirst," in hunger and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. So this is where Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, we were enslaved by our oppressors. All right, they ruled over us. They ruled over us, and we had to serve them in hunger, in thirst, in nakedness, and in want of all things. Anything, we wanted or we needed in order to survive, we had to go to our oppressor. And he would just barely keep us alive. Just barely keep us alive so we could work for him and make him rich. All right, so we had, and even to this day, we are still owned by him. He says that he's abolished slavery, but we are still owned by our oppressor. We don't have a land of our own. We still don't know as a nation who we are. We don't know our identity. We only know what our oppressor has given us. In terms of culture, we only know the culture that the oppressor has given us. We only know things like Christmas. We know drug culture, all right, promiscuity. We know all these things. We know, unaliving our children, like an abortion, right? We know all this. This culture comes from our oppressor. It comes from our oppression, right? Okay, and it says, "And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee. All right. So where we had physical chains on our neck when we was in slavery and shackles and chains, now we're not in that slavery. We're not in that slavery where we have physical chains on our neck because it's been removed. And why has it been removed? It says, until he have destroyed thee. He's now destroyed our mind to a point where he doesn't need to have us chained up. He doesn't need to unalive us because we're unaliving each other. He doesn't need to feed our children to alligators because he's set up systems where we can unalive our own children. He doesn't need to unalive or harass and arrest a brother, which he still does because, that he's just an oppressor. He can't help it. But we are now unaliving ourselves in gun culture. It's like a gang culture. You know what I'm saying? Selling narcotics to one another, destroying our own homes. Our brothers and sisters can't get along. There's a war between the genders. You know what I'm saying? He no longer needs to really do anything. We propagating that ourselves. We making sure that goes on. He set those traps up, and because we're destroyed, we falling for them traps every day. All right. And then let me get one of the curses that will come upon us if I go to verse 54, right? So that, in fact, let me read from 53. Okay. So, and thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body. All right. Now, the fruit of thine own body, the fruit of our body is our children. Okay. He says we will eat the fruit of our own body, meaning we will, in those days when we were besieged, when they surrounded us, we physically, we had no way to get food in and out. So we, as a nation, we resorted to physically, like cannibalism, eating the fruit of our own body. But even to this day, we oppress our children because of the oppression that we're in. We do things that are detrimental to our children and our nation because of the oppression that we're in. All right. So he says, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which the Lord thy God hath given thee, in the siege and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee. So because we're distressed, we end up unaliving our children. Because we're distressed, we end up, pimping our children out. Or, as a mother, I don't know, there's some cases where a mother will allow, maybe a son to deal narcotics as long as, as long as she can bring some money in, he buys her gifts and calms her down with the gifts. But we still allowing our children to be destroyed. All right. And then it also says, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate. So we used to be very, we used to deal with brotherhood to one another. We used to be real, brotherly towards one another and delicate. It says his eye shall be evil toward his brother. So that's where you get, gang violence. That's where you get drug culture, where we selling drugs to one another. His eye shall be evil towards his brother and towards the wife of his bosom. Okay, where you get, that gender war. Also, you get things like domestic violence. Because we oppressed and we have, we can't, like individually, we can't fight the oppressor because we're so divided. And individually, you can't do anything against the oppressor. So you end up turning the violence or turning your aggression to your own, towards your own brother, towards your own rib, and towards the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. All right. So brothers abandoning their children is a curse in the Bible. Okay. It is a curse on the Bible, and it is because of the siege that we're in. It's because of the oppression that we're in. All right. And then verse 55, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he has nothing left in him in the siege and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee. So because as a man, it's traditionally you give what you have to your children. You pass on your inheritance to your children. But because as a nation, we now have nothing. There's nothing we have as a nation. We have no wealth that we can pass on to our children. We have, even these days, our morals are gone. we have no morals or values we can inflict on our children, and so we end up leaving them. All right. Then where was I at? I just read 55, and then also 56. The tender and delicate woman among you. So our women used to be tender and delicate and so feminine. All right, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness. Our women were so feminine, were so precious, were so dainty. You know, she wouldn't even set the sole of her foot upon the ground. She wouldn't set her sole, you know, the bottom of your foot upon the bare ground, because she was tender, she was delicate. All right, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter. All right, so the way our, you know, our mothers are treating our children is also because of the oppression that we've gone through. You know what I'm saying? Our mothers, their eyes have gone evil toward her husband, and toward her son, and toward her daughter. All right, where we now, single mothers, are causing our children to be further destroyed. And it might not, sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's subconscious. All right, but you still causing your children to be further destroyed, and you're evil toward your husband also. Mainly, you know, a lot of the times it's because it could be either, you know, verbal abuse, where you get that a lot. In the whole domestic abuse thing, for brothers, it's mainly physical. For sisters, it's mainly, I mean, shoot, it's verbal and physical, to be honest. It's a whole lot of evil that we do to one another. A lot of emotional manipulation on both sides, physical, you know, abuse, verbal abuse. We evil now towards one another because of the oppression that we've gone through as a nation. Okay? Verse 57. And toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for one of all things secretly in the siege and straitness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates. All right. So again, this also kind of goes into, you know, the unaliving of our children. Your child is something that's precious. It comes from between your legs, right? But now, because of your oppression, because you're stressed, because you're you know, poor, or you might not have the education, because of the situation we've been put in by our oppressor, we are now unaliving our children, or abusing our children, being cruel to our children. All right. So, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna start off with that. So the situation between how we raise our children, and how, you know, single parenthood, especially because it says the brothers will, you know, will leave their children. All right, this is all by design by our oppressor. All right, so I'm gonna get into the first video which I want to share. Let me do this. Let me do this one. All right, let me share this video.
If you're not there for your child,
Let's start from the beginning.
if you're not there for your child, not only does it affect them, but their grades are usually lower. Confidence is lower. Higher probability of going to jail, higher probability of being violent, higher probability of also extending that generational curse and putting someone else in the situation to grow up in a broken home. So it's just key. We can all act like it doesn't matter and that we're okay without it, but at the core of it, all humans want to be loved.
And you know, that's something, you know, we all aware of this. We all aware of how, you know, leaving our children affects them. We are aware of the statistics. We know that when you leave that child, you know, we know it by experience, because our fathers left. You know what I'm saying? Our mothers raised us a certain way, and we don't know how to act. We were raised to be emotional, not raised to be men. So you know the impacts that leaving a child has on that child. All right, but we still do it. I'm gonna play it again, because I'm gonna go through the, you know, the different points.
If you're not there for your child, not only does it affect them, but
So where it says not only does it affect them, meaning when you leave your child, that child is left with a feeling of abandonment. You're hurting your child. Like, that child is always wondering, where is his father, or where is his mother? Why have they left? You know, did I do something? Did they leave because of me? Is it my fault? You leave when you abandon your children, you leave them with so much hurt. And then over time, you know, they're hurt and hurt and hurt for years. And then they start to, you know, in order to deal with the hurt, instead of, you know, getting counseling or, you know, dealing with it that way, because even mental health is another thing that's stigmatized in the Black community. All right. Instead of getting counseling or getting help, helping to deal with your abandonment issues, to cover up the hurt, to cover up the pain, you transform that pain into anger. And now you become aggressive. Now you become rebellious. Now you're lashing out. All right. So I'm gonna play this again. So not only are you hurting your child,
their grades are usually lower.
but the grades are usually lower. When you are left, you know, when a parent abandons you, you're left hurt. It can affect your focus. Your grades are usually lower. You might be lashing out and to rebel. You know what I'm saying? To deal with the hurt. You can't focus in school. You know, what's even the point of school if you feel like you don't have parents that love you? You don't have parents that you can rely on, right?
Confidence is lower.
Your confidence is lower.
Higher probability of going to jail.
Higher probability of going to jail, and that's especially for single fathers. I mean, absent fathers, right? When your father leaves you and you don't have that correction from your father, you have a much higher probability of being violent or going to prison. All right, that reflects in you know, the statistics. All right,
Probability of being violent. Higher probability of also extending that generational.
And you have a high probability to extending that generational curse because you don't grow up seeing what a healthy relationship looks like. How can you then grow to develop and make a healthy relationship of your own? How can brothers find a sister that they can, you know, be with and build a family with? All right. How can you don't know how to get a respectful woman or learn how to deal with a sister because you've never seen your father interacting with your mother. You've never seen, you know, you've never seen your mother being kind towards your father. You've never seen that strong bond. Sisters, you've never seen how a man is really, you know, supposed to treat your mother. You've never seen a strong bond. You've never seen strong love between your father and your mother. And that's who you need to see it from the most. You know what I'm saying? You need to see love coming from who you are. You are made up of these two people. And you need to see love coming from there. So you know how you can love than another. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna play on.
Person putting someone else in the situation to grow up in a broken home. So it's just key. We can all act like it doesn't matter and that we're okay without it, but at the core of it, all humans want to be loved.
And he says, you know, we can act like it's all okay. Like in the media, they act like, you know, it's fine. I grew up I grew up in a single mother household and I grew up fine. I grew up in a single father household. It didn't affect me, but you'll find these different ways when you really reflect, you'll find and see how it affects you. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into, let me see. I'm gonna go into another video and I'm gonna get this. Give me 1 second. Share this one.
We are in a
Okay, now y'all can see, yeah, y'all can see this video. All right, so
fucking crisis, a pandemic with this single mother and shit. But it is a proven fact that single mother households produce the worst product.
Facts. That's
It's a
100% fact. Yeah.
If you take two parent households, single father household, single mother household, statistically based on facts,
Yep.
the household with the woman heading it by herself produces the worst product. And
so they, you know, this is the set, and it's reflected in statistics. It's a fact. You can look it up. When you take two-parent households, where there's both a father and a mother, you take single father households, where it's just the father raising the child, and then you take single mother households. The single mother household has the worst outcomes for their children. Okay, and that's why there's such a big attack on the black man. They want the black man out of that house, so them children can grow up. They can go right into that school to prison pipeline. All right, that's why there's such a big attack on the black man. That's why there's so much push in the media of be an independent woman. You don't need no man. You know, if he has another woman, leave him. Stop him from seeing the children. Stop him from being in their lives. You know, he's no good. He's this, he's that. That's why they push this so much, because that single mother household is the worst outcome for our children. And they want our children to be destroyed, because when your children are destroyed, your children grow up to be the new adults. And then those children make more destroyed children, and the cycle repeats. All right, so they creating them single mother households. It's by design. All right, and it pull up some statistics right here. It says 72% of juvenile murderers and 60% of rapists come from single mother homes. All right, so that these, you know, these violent people, you know, that SA is also just another form of violence. All right, it comes from single mother households increases the probability of these violent acts. All right, so where was we at? I'm gonna play from here.
The household with the woman heading it by herself produces the worst product. And for our people, for black people, for African Americans,
And then this one here, the proportion of single parent households predicts its rate of violent crime and burglary. Okay.
our people, for black people, for African American people, those single mother households are the reason why prisons are filled with a good majority of our
You are 100%
people,
right.
So,
and that's, you know what I'm saying, that's what I was saying with that what do they call it, the school to prison pipeline. They want to create these single mother households. That's why they push it so much, so they can fill their prisons with our people. So they can absolutely fill their prisons with blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. All right, we are, in every society, we are usually the minority, but we represent the majority in their prisons. And when you are in prison now you can legally be a slave. So instead of having to have, you know, you in shackles and chains, which I'm sure just got tiresome for the oppressor, you know. Now he has that slavery mindset instilled in us, where we just, all the decisions we make as a people just leads us to going into prison, and then they can legally have us as a slave once again. So, you know, slavery in itself isn't abolished, because that's how they, you know, that's how they get away with their slavery, is putting us in prison. And they build this whole society around, you know, with the culture, with blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, what they push on us, it leads us to prison. Okay, the generational trauma that we have, everything, you know, we've been through as a people, everything we've learned from the oppressor, it's designed to make more blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians go into prison. All right.
these are facts. You sit this on the table. Here go the fact. And then you say, so y'all need to start valuing men being involved in the lives of your children. You having access to a man and a woman during your upbringing needs to be brought back.
And that's facts. She says, you know, you having access to both a man and a woman during your upbringing, it needs to be brought back. It needs to be brought back. You need that balance between having a mother who will nurture you, who will, you know, give you the emotional side, the emotional comfort, teach you, you know, what they call emotional intelligence, you know, being sensitive in certain areas to, you know, how women operate, being aware of how women operate. You know, our daughters need mothers to learn how to be feminine, and you need that masculine figure. You need your father to discipline you, to guide you, to give you correction. Okay, but when you have imbalance of either, when you either don't have the nurturing or the emotional side, or you don't have the correction, you go astray. You know, 99% of the times, you end up in a compromised situations. You end up suffering from all sorts of different issues. All right, so I'm gonna go into it real quick. I'm gonna share this article right here. Okay, it goes into the 10 consequences of a fatherless home and the impact on young people. Okay, so it says, is there a connection between young people growing up in fatherless homes and young people involved in youth crime and gang violence? The answer is yes. 76% of young men in prison in England and Wales have absent fathers, and absent fathers affect girls and young women as well. So it's not just the young brothers that are affected. It most certainly affects, you know, young girls and young women. And, you know, that's evident. That's evident. It's common knowledge. that, you know, girls with what they call daddy issues, you know what I'm saying? It's like they an easy mark. They an easy mark to just lay down with. They just an easy mark to really just take advantage of. Okay, because you don't have a father to teach you, you know, self-esteem, to teach you discipline, to aid in choosing a partner, to choose you know, a brother that would be right or treat that sister right, that can take on that role, you know, because our tradition as Israelites and with most cultures, you know, a father will give away his daughter to a brother, right? So you know, when you're born, your father is your first protector. Your father is who leads you, who guides you, and then over time, once you become a woman, once you become ready to marry, your father will choose a man for you that will now take over his role, and he will now be responsible for you. He will now protect you. You know, he will now be responsible for guiding you and leading you and correcting you. All right. So it says here are some of the ways father deficit affects young girls. It's like it affects girls and young women. All right. So it says fatherless daughters can have self-esteem issues, more likely to have eating disorders, more prone to depression, struggle to build and maintain relationships because, of course, you've never seen a healthy relationship between your father and the mother. You've never seen your mother submitting to a man. So how can you then know or learn how to submit to a man in your relationship? You've never seen it. You've never seen your father loving your mother. So you don't know what love looks like from, you know, from men. You don't know what it looks like. So you know, you end up either falling in toxic relationships, or you really very much struggle to build and maintain those relationships. And also trust issues comes into it. For example, if, you know, if your father left your mother, then you are now very wary and you build up that wall because, okay, you thinking any man that I now get with and I trust to lay down with, or, you know, this, that, and the third, to build a relationship with, they just gonna leave me eventually. So you have that kind of trust issue built up. All right. It says more likely to become sexually active earlier because you don't have that correction and that discipline at home. It also can, you know, you'd be more likely to develop an addiction. Okay. And then let me see. Let me go into what a bar. This one. So it is so important that our young people have an active father in their lives to help encourage and support them during what is arguably the most important time of their lives. Until our young people become responsible adults, you know, above the age of, say, around 21, which is around the age where you're actually kind of finished developing. Of course, there's always growth, but for the most part, that's when you kind of finished developing, and, like, you know, on average, by the age of 21, you're kind of a full adult, as in, you know, you more fully developed. Okay, it says until you become responsible above the age of 21, they are extremely vulnerable. They're exposed to all sorts of criminal activity through the likes of media, such as films, television, social media, and also, of course, you know, the music. The music and music videos, it's glorified and shown as something, you know, something fun. All right, it says they're also exposed to criminal activity through video games and music. You're exposed to criminal activity by other young people at school or in their community, and who also most likely suffer from a father deficit. All right, so especially, you know, with young brothers, when you lack a father, you're looking to fill that void in masculinity, and you end up, for the most part, finding it in um in gangs or gang culture. You know what I'm saying? You find it in what you perceive as masculine, but really it's just, you know, there's some forms of masculinity, but for the most part, it's aggression that's untamed. All right, that's leading to criminal activity. And then you find your masculinity, you find your father role in that, which is certainly not healthy for any child. That's what leads you, you know, to just going into prison and throwing your whole life away. Okay. So moving on, potential consequences of father deficit include behavioral problems. So you're more likely to struggle in social settings, building relationships, making friends. Many attempt to come across as scary and aggressive to hide that below the surface they're scared, unhappy, and have anxieties. All right, when you grow up without a father, you're very much more prone to suffer from anxiety and depression because, you suffer from that abandonment. And then it says many try and come across as scary, as aggressive, because in order to try and hide that hurt, to hide that pain, you turn it into anger. All right. And the second one is relationships. So it may be harder for young people with absent fathers to trust, build, and maintain relationships in the future. Poor academic performance. Most children from fatherless homes are more likely to be excluded from school, meaning essentially kicked out from school, less likely to attain higher educational qualifications in adulthood, and have less motivation to learn and take school seriously. Because you're already dealing with so much at home. What is really the importance in school when you don't have your father? Like where you really have bigger fish to fry. You need your father who will teach you how to be a man, teach you how to, how you should treat life seriously. Teach our sisters to, okay, get your education, get the things you need, learn how to be a good woman, give you that discipline and guidance to make sure you on the right path. Okay. Number 4 is exploitation and abuse. It says young people are at higher risk of experiencing and suffering from abuse, whether it be sexual, physical, and emotional. So when you're raised up in a single parent household, especially with an absent father, you're definitely more at risk of experiencing abuse. All right, whether it be from when your mother is now looking for a new partner, she's bringing all these different men in. Those men are not your father, so they don't have the same care for you. A lot of times, young girls and young boys, because at this point, everybody is, suffering from this sort of thing, sexual abuse, or even, from aunties or women that your mother, trusts to have around you, but there's no father protecting you. You have no protection, and you end up falling into these situations where you get abused. Okay, whether it be sexual, physical, and emotional. And then it says the boys may grow up to be abusive towards their future girlfriends or wives, right? So now, because you've been abused, it perpetuates that cycle of now you become an abuser, all right? Because, if I got abused, then, you either think you deserved it, and then you grow up in the mindset, okay, well, now other people just deserve it, or you need to inflict that pain on somebody else to in a twisted way. It is like you're trying to heal yourself by hurting other people. All right. And you got self-esteem. I just went into this one to say self-worth will be quite low with an absent father, leading you to be mistreated in adulthood and unable to stand up for yourself. Young youth crime and gang violence. So young people, you're more likely to become involved in crime, become criminally or sexually exploited, carry weapons, violence, and associated with gangs or other criminal groups. Young pregnancy and promiscuity. So this is a big one, especially for the sisters. Young people from fatherless homes are more likely to be sexually active from a young age, because you don't have that discipline. You don't have your father to set that hedge around you. All right. In the Bible, it says, it says to watch over. It says to watch over your children, and there's one specifically about a young woman or raising a daughter that will open up her quiver to every arrow. You know what I'm saying? It's a father's duty to watch over you and keep her in strictly, so she doesn't abuse herself. When you don't have that father, is damn near, it's 9 times out of 10 you're gonna fall into that. All right. From a young age, may have sexual health issues, becoming parents at a young age, and you may be exploited by adult men as a result of their emotional loss of their father. You know what I'm saying? That's a very common thing, sisters with what we call daddy issues. They fall into being exploited by men. All right. Drug and alcohol abuse. So young people may experience and be exposed to drugs and alcohol from a young age, and then you're more likely to become addicted to these substances. Mental health, so common mental health problems with absent fathers are anxiety and or depression. And then also money might be tight, so you might have less less access to, you know, extra activities, whether it be clubs, you know, football, karate, music clubs, and you rely on the system, you know, whether it be like food stamps or in the UK we'd call it like benefits to help you out. All right, so that's, you know, you have so many disadvantages when you're grown up in a single parent household, especially when it's a, you know, when your father is absent. All right, and I'm gonna get into, let me get this, and this is why. Let me see. It's like, let me get this one. Let me get, yeah, let me get this one. I'm gonna get this scripture right here, Mark chapter 3 and verse 24, which reads, "And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand." And that's what our oppressor has done. That's why he's now removed the yoke of iron from our neck, because he's destroyed us. He's divided us against itself. And the Bible says, if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. All right, and I'm going to read on. And, you know, what is a kingdom? A kingdom is built up of, you know, families, multiple families, right? They build a nation, build a kingdom, right? And it says, and if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. So that's why our oppressor is focused very much on destroying our households, causing these broken homes. So our houses cannot stand. And then if all these houses cannot stand, we as a nation, the kingdom is now divided against itself and it cannot stand. All right. I'm going to get into another verse in Mark 3. So jump to 27. Mark 3 and 27. No man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods. And that's what they've done. They've spoiled our goods. So they now, you know, they can take advantage of our women. They can take advantage of our children. Either the sisters fall into promiscuity and you know, being exploited that way. The brothers fall into criminal activity and exploiting them that way. You now become, you know, just another slave for the oppressor. All right. And spoil his goods, except he will first bind the strong man. So that's why there's such a big attack on the black man, telling you don't need him. You know, he'll be no good for your children. You don't need him. Kick him out the house. You're independent. You know, he did this and did that. You know, leave him. And then anybody can enter into your house and spoil that man's goods, spoil you as a sister, spoil your children, and you know, abuse your children. We've already went into the different ways, you know, young children, young brothers and young sisters fall into being abused and being you know, falling into those various things that are detrimental to their lives. Okay. It says, except he will first bind the strong man and then he will spoil his house. All right, so that's exactly, you know, it's by design how our families are able to be destroyed and how we just lead them right into prison. All right, I'm gonna get into, let me see where we're up on the time. We've got about 50 minutes left. I'm gonna get into another video. Let me get this one. I'll share the All right, shalom to everybody that's in the live also, you know what I'm saying? The Waterfield for tuning in. Make sure you follow in the page, you know what I'm saying? Make sure you like the video, share it so that other people can see it. You know what I'm saying? For anybody that doesn't catch the live, I drop these on the YouTube usually the following day around 5:30. All right, so make sure you're following all ISUPK UK social medias so you can get, you know, not only the other videos we post on there, but you can get real-time revelations will be re-uploaded. All right, so I'm gonna get into this video real quick. Wait, no, this is not the one. I already did.
We are in a.
Give me 1 second. This one.
You're robbing your children of the ability to see love. Because most of the women will never find another man that'll want to step in and be.
I don't think it's shared. Let me put in this. Let me run this from the beginning.
You're robbing your children of the ability to see love. Because most of the women will never find another man that'll want to step in and be Nick Cannon baby mama next. They don't want to do that. So now this woman is mateless.
So she says, you know, you're robbing your children of seeing love. You're robbing your children of seeing their mother and their father loving each other. That is so important for a child to see. it's important for a child to see their mother and their father absolutely in love. All right. And that's why it's so important for you to choose who you lay down with wisely. All right. In the Bible, sex is marriage. So if you have sex with this person, you are married to this person. All right. Sex is absolutely marriage. And not only that, when you have sex with this person, there's a probability that you will get impregnated by this person. You will conceive a child. And now, if you're just having sex with this person, but you have no intention of being with them, of staying with them, then you creating these broken homes. It's by design. It's by choice. You are now a single mother, or it's by choice you've now left your children as a brother. All right, because you have no discipline in who you lie down with. All right, if you're giving your body to somebody, but you wouldn't give your mind to that person, you don't value your body. I'm gonna say that one more time. If you give your body to somebody, but you don't give them your mind, if you don't give them your soul, if you don't give, you know, if you don't like as a sister, if you don't give your mind and your soul to that person, but you'll give them your body, you do not value your body. That's where that self-esteem comes in. You need to have that self-esteem so that whoever you give your body to, that should be the person that you see as worthy to give your mind and your soul. You should be able to fully submit to that man, so that if you were to get pregnant, you'd have no issue with this man being the father of your children. You'd know that he is a good man. He will stay with you. He'll raise your children right. You'll know these things. So it's important as a sister for you to be disciplined in who you lie down with. Who you lie down with, it could be liable to be the father of your children. Who you lie down with, again, I reiterate, sex is marriage. So once you lie down with a brother, that is your husband. You cannot leave him according to the Bible. And for brothers also, you should be very, very, very choosy in who you decide to lie down with. It's very easy as a brother to be in your lust and just lie down with a sister because she's easy, but you have no intention of staying with the sister. If she now gets pregnant, you're gonna ask her to unalive the child. Now you're unaliving your own flesh and blood because you make immature decisions, because you don't have the discipline to only lie down with a sister that you would not have a problem having children with, right? And now you're either creating children that are unalived, or you're creating these single parent households, and your children, your own flesh and blood is set of all those disadvantages that I went through, because you lack the discipline to choose a sister that you'll be able to stay with. All right. So in fact, I'm gonna stop sharing this video part with you. I'm gonna come back to it, but I'm gonna get a scripture real fast. Give me 1 second. But this one right here. Let me share this. So if I drop this and then share this. Okay, Ecclesiasticus 36 and verse 21. It says a woman will receive every man. I mean, a woman will receive every man. A woman can be deceived by really any man. Any man who lies well enough can lie with that sister. That's why it was so important to have that family structure where a father would choose who his daughter would marry. Of course, not to say the daughter wouldn't have any input, but her father would be able to see through the lies of whatever some random guy is just trying to spit game to her. But women are naturally, typically more naive. I mean, you could be, so well educated, but you just fall in love with this brother's word. This brother lies so smooth. You fall in love with him. You fall for his lies, and then you find yourself in a situation where, when push comes to shove, he really didn't mean all the things he was saying to you, all the sweet nothings he was saying to you. Just caressing your ego, really. A woman will receive every man, yet is one daughter better than another. So yet there is one sister, say you got two sisters. One sister is she an addict. She lacks discipline. She don't know how to be a woman. She's not feminine. She's not the type of sister that you would want to stay with and be with, but she's easy and you can just get the box, right? There's that type of woman. Then there's a woman who you see, you like, and you actually see yourself being with this woman. You could see this woman being the mother of your children. You could see her being a good wife. She knows how to, she's submissive. She's feminine. She knows how to be a woman. It is your duty to choose a woman that you're going to be able to stay with. All right? Because if you're having sex with someone you have really no intention of being with, when that home is broken, that is a failure. And it's a failure by your decision. All right? So it's very important you take the time to pick the right sister. All right? Pick women that you are able to stay with. Okay? Now let me get back into the video. Bada bing. All right.
And her child has to see her be a struggling mother, even if it's not financially. Even if it's not financially, you have other issues in life besides money. Yeah. There are other issues, and there are problems in life that money can't fix. But having a true partner there can make it a little bit better. You're teaching your child by having a two-parent household how to love, how to communicate, conflict resolution, how to build towards even being a friend to people. You know what I'm saying? So when you take that from,
and that was heavy what she said, right? When you have a two-parent household, when you're able to choose somebody, with the person you choose to give your body to, when you're able to, you only give your body to somebody that you're going to stay with for life, you're able to be with long term, then you're teaching your children
by having a two-parent household
how to love, because you will, you'll love each other. You've picked this person to be with for the rest of your life, and you work on it. All right, being in a relationship is work. You have to constantly work to make sure you're loving the other person right and treating them right, so you can maintain this relationship.
How to communicate effectively, not yelling at each other, not being abusive verbally, emotionally, physically. How to actually communicate and conflict resolution, resolving conflict, because it's a guarantee. There is no relationship that has absolutely no issues, no conflict. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist where there's just no arguments, no time where y'all will just get on each other's nerves. But you have to know how to resolve conflict and stay together. You have to know how to stay together. And then once you have those children seeing you, you'll have little spats, little comments, but they see you communicating effectively, not yelling, not being aggressive with each other, not abusing each other. They see you resolve that conflict and stay together. Then your children know, okay, this is how I resolve conflict. When you don't see that, the first damn argument you have, you're just ready to leave the person because you never saw your parents, you never saw anybody resolve conflict. You never saw it. Resolution, how to build towards even being a friend to people. You know what I'm saying? So when you
and that, as you said, how to build not only having a relationship with somebody, having a building a strong relationship, but even just being a friend. Like we went in the early one was reading the 10 outcomes or effects. Even just building friend relationships. You have to know how to resolve conflict. All right, it can't just be the first issue you have with this friend. Now you're not friends no more. You hate each other now. This, that, and the third. You learn these things from even seeing your parents, how they interact with each other, how to resolve conflict, how to, everyone talks about, oh, love this and love that. Love is an action that even when you mad with this person, you don't leave them. There's loyalty there. That's what real love is. Love isn't just the feeling of, this person makes me feel so happy and I feel this and I feel that. Love is an action. Love is conflict resolution. Love is brotherhood and sisterhood, being loving your wife, and husbands loving their wives, and wives loving and submitting to their husbands. That's what love is.
You take that from that child, that's selfish in itself.
And she says, when you take that from that child, when you take the opportunity for that child to see their parents loving each other, that's selfish. When you only thinking about your rod, you're only thinking about your you know, your sisters think about their lady parts. I don't know what y'all want to call it, you know, whatever. Y'all only thinking about that, thinking about, you know, um, the you know, the final product or whatever. You think about intercourse, but you're not thinking about, what if I have a child with this person? Can I stay with this person? Are we able to resolve conflict? You're robbing your child of seeing that. You're robbing your child of developing a healthy outlook on life, a healthy outlook on relationships, knowing what a healthy relationship looks like. You rob your child of that, and that is absolutely selfish. That's why I say, you know, single parenthood, it's failing our children. When you end up in a single parent household, it's because of failure somewhere down the line. Somewhere down the line, something has failed. Okay, unless it's of course by, you know, some accident where the other parent becomes unalived. That's a very, very unfortunate circumstance. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But a lot of the single parent households we see today are by choice, and it's by a selfish choice. Because once you have children, life isn't about you anymore. It's not about you. It's about those children. It isn't about, you know, oh, you know, I just want to be happy and this, that, and the third. I'm protecting my peace. That's a big one, you know. It comes out. I'm just protecting my peace. It's now about those children. When you have children, you forfeit your own, you know, your own life and your own happiness. Really, it's now about those children, so those children can be raised right, so those children can be raised strong. All right, it's now about more than just you. You can't be selfish. All right, now let me get this. Let's see where we at. I'm gonna get into the correction. All right, so I'm gonna get these verses real quick because I know we're close on the time. All right, Proverbs 19:8. It says, "Chasten thy son while there is hope, and let not thy soul spare for his crying." All right, so of course the Bible is written in the masculine, so it will say a lot, you know, the father or the man and the son, but this is for both. Chasten your son, meaning chasten is to correct. Correct your son, and also you definitely need to correct your daughters while there is hope. So while they in that development stage, you know, as we read in the article, it was like, you know, before they reach over the age of 21. Chasten thy son, correct your children while there is hope, and let not thy soul spare for his crying, meaning don't not correct him, don't spare the rod because he's crying and you're like, okay, fine. Now that's not to say don't have any mercy on your children, because you're supposed to, you know, correct in wisdom. That's why it's a lot of times better for a father to discipline a child, because a father is more logical. A father is not going to discipline a child for the most part. Now, you know, today we have emotional men, so it's not even, you know, a guarantee. But for the most part, the way a brother is supposed to discipline is more logical. Whether a sister, a single mother, will more correct or discipline out of emotion, whether that be they overdo it or they don't do it at all because they're so emotional they spare correction for his crying, meaning that child cries, then they feel bad, and then they just don't really discipline the child, and they grow up without correction. The children are now just running the home because the mother is too emotional to correct them, or they just overcorrecting them and overbeating them. And now we get to my second verse. In fact, it's not that, it is in this one, in verse 21. It says, "Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged." And you provoke your children to anger by being cruel, right? By being absolutely cruel to your children. Okay? And I'm gonna get into this one. So this is, I'm gonna share this quick video. We'll be real close on the time. I'm just gonna go a little bit over. All right, this is what happens when you don't correct your child. One second. This is what happens when you don't correct your child. All right. I don't even play too much of this. This is Horrifying to see. You got all these little girls, you know, barely, I don't even think most of them crack the age of 10, and they singing and dancing to Sexy Red, a damn roach. And then it's funny, there's caption talk about, oh, these kids know better. These children do not know better. Children know what you teach them. They learn from you. They learn from observing you. So they observing their mothers and their aunties dancing and listening and singing along to Sexy Red. And this is the result. This is the result of single mothers. This is it. When they don't discipline their children, and that's why I said one of the outcomes is, you know, early promiscuity, being sexually active earlier. A child needs their father. A child absolutely needs their father. All right. So I don't even want to play too much of that, because that is upsetting to me. It is upsetting to see those young sisters, those young princesses, you know, gyrating and dancing and singing along to those explicit lyrics of Sexy Red. That vibe, good night. And that woman is like that because she herself was abused as a child. You know, she herself has been through, I don't know what her family home was like, but she was probably herself raised by a single mother. And that's it, the cycle. All right, so I'm gonna get into my last scripture real quick before we close out. All right, Colossians 3 and verse 18. This is how our family structure is supposed to be. All right, and shalom to Officer Baraki Allah Yahba Shem Shabakata. All right, this is how our family structure is supposed to be. It says, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as it is fit in the Lord. Wives, you are supposed to find a man that you can love, that you can be with, you can submit to. All right, you're supposed to submit to that man like you submit to the Most High, like you would submit to Christ. You're supposed to submit to that man. All right, I'm getting to the next verse. It says, husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them. Meaning you're not supposed to abuse your wives. You're not supposed to be bitter against your wife. You're supposed to love your wife. Okay? You're not supposed to use that power or use the fact that she's supposed to submit to, you know, use that against her. You're supposed to love your wife and don't be bitter against them. All right? And it says, children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well-pleasing unto the Lord. Children, you are supposed to obey your parents. Okay? And then it says, fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. I mean, fathers, you're not supposed to abuse your children. You're not supposed to be cruel. You're supposed to correct them, but in moderation. You're not supposed to, you know, many of us grow up, you know, you get switched, you get beat with a stick, with a coat hanger wire. You know, we grew up on abuse. That comes from slavery. That comes from the oppressor whipping our backs, and we then whip our children's backs with no mercy. We are supposed to have, you know what I'm saying, we are supposed to have some mercy on our children. All right, you're not supposed to provoke your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. Okay. All right, most high in Christ. And with that, you know what I'm saying, we up on the time. That's real-time revelations. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you tune in on Thursday. Thursday's topic, I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna get into Thursday's topic is independence is the downfall of black women. All right, I'm gonna get into that topic. Make sure y'all tune in on Thursday, and I'm gonna show you how independence, you know, is the downfall of black women. All right, and with that, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai Barakatham to all the brothers, and Yahweh Shema Allah Tham Hashem Yahweh Shai to all the sisters. All right, shalom.
Let's get it. I just float with it. Fuck what you did, I'm at your throat with it. You can learn something, take a note with it. Dedicated my life, I took an oath with it. For the blood of my brothers, we don't do no switching. I run with who I run with, ain't no clicking. Try me, do you done with no decision. Lead a scene like a Mack truck with 4 collisions. Poles everywhere, but they ain't gon' vote dissing. Coming at you live and direct, I don't do no dissing.